Ah, my friends, I'm so excited about our last guest of the day. I have to say, there I was on a Sunday morning walk, and I rack my brain and I say, I want some fun guests, some different guests, some big guests, some unique guests, and I'm going through the Rolodex, and in my mind, the Rolodex, we don't have Rolodexes anymore. And I'm thinking, who can I get? Who could be fun? Who could be pertinent? Who's a big name? Who we haven't talked to in a long time? And all of a sudden, my old friend Bill Goldberg comes to mind, just like that, out of nowhere. And so I go through and I actually sent him a DM and I'm like, he's probably not going to see this. He gets a million DMs. So I unsent the DM and I'm like, I think I have his number because he was on once when he was doing work with Glory back in 2016. Do I just text the guy? And I did. And I kid you not, this is one of the most famous people on the planet, one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time, one of the most beloved pro wrestlers of all time, WCW champion, WWE champion, Hall of Famer. He probably responded within 3 minutes. It was unbelievable. So quickly that I thought perhaps it was, a new person, a new owner of that number, and they were just messing with me because there's just no way that he's that nice and he responds that quickly. And so let's find out. Is this some random guy, or is it in fact the great Bill Goldberg joining us? Let us go to the screen right here and see. And there he is, the man.
First and foremost, thank you very much, Ariel. But I'll be honest with you. I don't know how many of those boxes I actually check. The boxes, the accolades and, the intro for me. So it's always an honor to be on with you. You're a very good friend of mine. And that's what I do to very good friends of mine. I respond back within 3 minutes.
You do. You really do. And I appreciate it. And you're just being humble. I get it. I appreciate that as well. But you're
I'm the captain self-deprecator. You know that. The fact is that you're only as good as your next event. You're only as good as your next conversation, your next day. And for so many people who live in the past, man, I'm luckier than hell. I got so many opportunities. I've got so many fans, thankfully still. I guess I did something right, but it's just every day's a new day, man. So it's an honor and a privilege to be on with you, brother. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Does Bill Goldberg deal with imposter syndrome?
Everybody does to an extent, right? What's your definition of imposter syndrome?
Okay, so imposter syndrome to me, and it's something that I think about a lot as I try to expand and do new things. It's like, am I worthy of this? Should I be here? Why am I here? Should be someone else here. Am I good enough? Am I qualified enough? And with you, like, I don't believe you're doing the shtick of like, oh, I'm not a legend. I'm not this and that. There's a part of me that almost wonders, like, do you actually believe that? There's no way, right? There's no way you believe that you are not those things.
Oh, 1,000% I do. Again, you never pat yourself on the back. You never rest on your laurels of yesteryear. And hey, man, anybody that would say that, I'm absolutely honored and privileged. But again, man, every day is a new day, and you got to redefine yourself every day. I tell my son that, who's playing at Colorado right now, and every day is a freaking struggle, man. And you got to just wipe yesterday away and work on the present and the future. And, I'll tell you a little story. I just hired a new company to take over my social media.
Yes.
And they do my Instagram and my Twitter, which now is X. And I actually lost Twitter like 6 years ago. It's a funny but not real funny story as to how I lost it. But they got it back in people have been trying to get it back for years, and they got it back while I was on the phone with them in about a 15 to 20 minute period of time. And it's funny because anybody who follows me on social media knows that I don't usually, first and foremost, I do my accounts myself, or I did up until 10 days ago. And I did that basically so that everybody would understand that it was actually me and that I cared and that I took the time to respond to the people that have put me in the place that I'm in right now. Well, some places. But the fact is that you've seen wrestling reemerge itself on my social media.
Yeah.
And there is a time and a place for everything. And the fact is, after watching the things that through analytics, this company has deemed worthy of being on my social media to drive traffic, I did some pretty freaking cool stuff. And I'm pretty amazed at some of the physical feats that I was able to accomplish, and the feat of actually becoming a professional wrestler after a very short NFL career. Right. So, man, every day is awesome. I'm sitting here on 200 acres. As I said, my son, plays for Colorado. I'm about to smash somebody for the final time, hopefully in 2025, in the wrestling ring, and most likely hang my boots up. 99%. And it can always be worse, man. It really can. And I am truly the self-deprecator, because the second that you start believing your own shit, other people's accolades that pump you up every single day, that's the day that you don't progress. And so I fell short in the NFL. If you listen to 90% of the people, in the wrestling business or that are fans of wrestling, not 90%, maybe 78%. I was nothing in the ring. They don't credit me for starting probably the most replicated finishing move in wrestling now. So 90% of the time I buy into it and I self-deprecate, and it just makes me work harder. That's all. In a very long answer to your question.
No. I love that. I actually have like 8 follow-ups from just that answer alone. Could I just ask you? You refer to those people, the detractors, if you will. Do you pay attention to them? Do they get to you? The revisionist
not at all.
historians.
Not at all, because everyone is a human, cares about what people think, but you have to care to a certain level, number one, and you have to care about what they think and how they express their thoughts towards you. And if it's negative, you have to learn to turn it into a positive. So all it is fuel for me. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid of going out there and being better than I was yesterday, like I said. And if these people don't deem me worthy of being in the position that I am and being Goldberg and attaining some of the goals that I've attained, then I'm going to show them by the next thing that I do. So it's a blessing and it's a curse. And I've said this many times, and I try to teach a lot of athletes coming up, but most importantly, I try to teach my son that it's a very good thing to be extremely hard on yourself, but it's also a very bad thing, right? Because you have to step back every once in a while and really look at your accomplishments and understand that all the hard work has paid off, and it's gotten me to a place that I never would have dreamed that I would have been at.
I love how much you talk about your son, about your family, about your wife. Like, you could tell how much you adore them. And, your son, as you mentioned, Gage, University of Colorado, and starting to look like he's got the neck. He's got, like, it looks like the photos that we see of you, there you are with him, and you could see how proud you are of him. And I'm lucky enough to have 3 children myself, and my older boys, 12 and 11, are starting, I can see when they play sports, they're starting to look like me and act like me. And when they're 5 or 6, you don't remember what you were like at 5 or 6. So it's hard to say like, oh, I was this way. And so now that you're seeing him get to be this amazing athlete, playing the sport that you adored so much, can you even describe what that feeling is like?
1,000%. He had a bad day at practice yesterday or something, or one day this week. And, he gets down on himself. And like I said, that's a blessing and it's a curse. Getting down on yourself makes you work harder, but getting down on yourself can grind you down to a point where, it's hard to pull out of. There's a lot of me in him. And I try to live vicariously through him when he's on the football field. And, the struggles that he's going through right now are struggles that I went through, man. My brother went through. My brother played at the Raiders for a very short period of time, and every time he heard a knock on the door, he hid under the bed so they couldn't cut him, because he figured if they can't find him, they can't get rid of him, right? So, again, it's you have to think lesser of yourself so that tomorrow you can be a better you. That's just how we work, man. It's part of being Jewish, you know that.
Yes, absolutely. So is self-deprecating. And so there we were in Atlanta in October. It's Bad Blood, and they come to town, and there's Gunther, and there he is addressing you, and your son is by your side, and he's taking some shots, and you jump over the guardrail, and there's a thing there with security, and And we presume, here are some of the images, Triple H, Paul Levesque is in the ring as well. We presume like we are building towards something. This is Pro Wrestling 101. Although nothing ever happened in the aftermath. Why?
Yeah, there's probably a reason for that. I'm a WCW guy, man. They want to accentuate the John Cena tour and all that kind of stuff. And if anything ever happens, I'll pop out of midair and do my thing and wipe my hands clean of it and leave, and they'll be done with me. So there's a lot of truth to that. But hey,
what do you mean? What do you mean? What are you trying to say here? You lost me there for a moment.
Come on, man. I'll always be a WCW guy.
Still, you still believe that?
Look at how they treated Sting.
But you were there longer than Sting was. That was like a cup of coffee.
No. Well, you mean a WWE?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was talking to Booker T the other day, and if you don't get into the wrestling business wanting to be a part of the pinnacle of the wrestling business, which is WrestleMania and pay-per-views as they used to be called, then you're crazy, right? And so I had goals to attain at the WWE, but the reality is, when we were going head to head, we were kicking their ass, they were kicking our ass. It was back and forth like a big heavyweight fight. And I'm a football player innately, man, and they were the enemy, right? And I still believe at the bottom of my heart, at the end of the day, it's still kind of that way a little bit.
So how did that all come about?
What?
The whole thing with you and Gunther. They call you up. They say, we want to do this. We have a plan. It surely wasn't just like that one-off.
No, because I had expressed a number of times that I wanted another match after Roman. That Vince had promised me another match, because not too many people know this, but I took the Roman match with like a month prior notice, and I had COVID. And, that's not the way to go out. It's surely not the way to go out, and surely not the way to go out in Saudi Arabia, where so many of my fans couldn't be there live to watch the finale, right? So I always, in the bottom of my heart, in my heart, wanted to go out and present myself a little bit more positively than I was able to. I'm the mild understatement guy, but Paul and I spoke, and we came to an agreement that in 2025 I'd have my retirement match. Don't know when it is, don't know who it's against, but they planted a little seed like they always do, and don't think that there may not be a swerve here and there. But it's professional wrestling. It is what it is. It's not what you see is what you get, and if anyone knows that, it's you.
Do you like the idea of the retirement match being against Gunther?
If it was, then I guess I could look at it like I'm kind of passing the torch. He's a young talent comparatively. Well, everyone's young comparatively, but he's the new part of the new generation, and they need to be I'm not going to say lifted up, but I think if that were the case, that if it was Gunther and I, that it would be logical. There's some heat there, obviously, that's already been placed.
Yep.
And he's the new generation. I'm the old generation. It's kind of like a passing of the torch in a way. And, I wouldn't turn that one down by any stretch of imagination, because you don't ever open your mouth in front of my wife and my son negatively about me. That guy that you see over my shoulder, one of my shoulders.
Yeah.
I just got off another podcast, and I'm looking at that guy, and there's not really much difference between me and that dude up there. And that was almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
Right. One of the dreams of my life was to have an automotive car show, automotive series, right? Episodic automotive content. And I was lucky enough. That was the first one that I did. And I'm looking back, and the truth is that I'm 58 years old, man. Certain things are a lot harder than they used to be. When I look, I might be the only one in the world that has a 3,000 square foot gym on top of his garage and doesn't have a mirror in it, right? Because I don't want to not be that guy for the rest of my life. But I'm always going to be that guy. And whether I'm on the football field, whether I'm in the wrestling ring, whether I'm doing my car show, whether I'm at a Glory event or a UFC event or a one championship event, I'm always that guy. And if I'm going to have to do this retirement match in 2025, I need to reacquaint myself with that guy more often. So I'm always going to be that guy, man, and I cannot wait to present him at 58 years old.
If you had the pencil, if you can, lay it out for yourself, who's the match against? Where is it? When is it? The retirement match.
I never got a chance to get my hand around Cena's throat. That might have been cool. There's a lot of people that I would have loved to have faced back in the day, but the fact is that you look at what does that do for the business now, and a lot of people don't even remember me that watch wrestling right now, and a lot of people obviously don't know me because they speak negatively of me, and I think that I was an innovator of sorts. There's a plethora. I mean, I'd love to have a rematch of Roman. There's so many guys that are so talented and on the cusp of stardom, if not, there yet, that are possibilities. Bron Breaker, I mean, hell, think about it. It's a logical solution. But it's all in how the powers that be want to make it happen. Dana White's the biggest example, right? Vince used to be the biggest example. Now it's Triple H. So we'll figure it out, and hopefully at the end of the day, I'm able to present myself in a positive manner to where the people of today who don't remember me will sure as frick remember me after they see me my last time, and it won't be in a negative way. Physically, hopefully physically understanding that, yeah, I do have a couple limitations, but
is that in stone? Like, is this a guarantee that it's happening in 25?
Yes.
Okay. Time frame?
Don't have any idea. I just know that I got stem cells. What's today? Wednesday? I got stem cells 5 weeks and 6 days ago. And I'm cleared physically in a very short period of time. And I haven't been able to do much at all preparation wise, but I think that the positives of the stem cell treatment were such a positive that it was worth me staying out of the gym for the longest period of time I ever have in my entire life, and staying away from physical activity. And I'm going to jump in the ring and start sparring, 7 to 8 days from now. I got to be smart about it, but 2025, man, it's going to happen, and I don't know who it's going to be against. I don't know when it's going to be, but I guarantee you, whoever it's against, they're going to understand what it's like being in there with Goldberg. And Goldberg 58, Goldberg 28. Well, I probably wasn't in the business at that time, but it's going to be fun. I hope. We'll see.
There seemed to have been this narrative that the Saudis loved you and that they demanded you be on those cards. A, was that true? Was that a thing? And B, does that mean that the retirement match is going to be in Saudi Arabia?
I wouldn't think that it would be, again, because of one of the reasons why I was displeasured with the way I went out. Right, I went out in Saudi, and I went out, Roman, and the short period of time, and I was sick. But I'd love to do it here in the States. I got to do it stateside. I have to. About the Saudis adoring me or whatever it may be, I'm appreciative of any positive response anywhere I go. And as a Jewish person, I must tell you that I had reservations about going to Saudi because, the first time we went was years ago, and it was a different landscape than it is now. And I'll tell you what, I was so pleasantly surprised. I was flabbergasted that, man, they were so welcoming, and it was one of the best, receptions I've gotten anywhere, and I'm so appreciative of that. And it shows you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't have predisposed opinions about things without actually knowing what the hell you're talking about, and experiencing it yourself in real time is what it's all about. It's not about asking somebody about their experience. So
I had the same experience, by the way. I had the same feelings, and then I went there last March and felt the same type of warm reception. Can I ask you? I was thinking about this last night. Can someone named Goldberg get into wrestling in 2025 and be liked and be successful and be the fan favorite that you were?
Absolutely. I wrestled in Alabama, the place where you would think Alabama, deep South, Louisiana, a lot of places where people like us probably weren't as welcomed as they are these days. But at the end of the day, they didn't care what my name was. It did not matter. That's why I kept the name Goldberg. Well, that's one of the reasons why I kept the name Goldberg. But because it wouldn't matter as long as I was able to perform something that they had never seen before. As long as I could do something that made them sit on the edge of their seat, not knowing whether I was going to rip a guy's face off or whether I was going to, catch on fire in the sparks. They didn't know what I was going to do. And that's the only thing I've ever really emulated, really copied on somebody, is the feeling that Mike Tyson gave people once they were sitting down with that popcorn, eyes freaking glued on that television, and they wouldn't move for a second because they didn't know what was going to happen. And you kept them on the edge of their seat. Hogan taught me a lot about that. And I just believe that if you're going to do anything, there's no reason to be like anybody else. And I wasn't like anybody else. And the people didn't care what my name was. It didn't matter. I just did stuff that people had never seen before, and I got them excited about it, and I was able to, draw that line again between fiction and reality.
That Roman match that you speak of in Saudi was in 22. Why nothing in 23? Obviously 24 came and went. Here we are 25. Why that break in between? If it seemed to have not sat so well with you, why not one immediately after?
What am I going to pick up the phone and beg somebody to give me a retirement match?
I
don't do that.
You're freaking Bill Goldberg.
I don't do that, man. I'm Bill Goldberg, but I lead my life in a very different way. I'm very simplistic, and I don't beg for shit. I'm never going to do that. I never have, and I never will. And I was lucky enough one day to be on my tractor here on the property, cutting the grass, and I get a phone call from Hunter, right? Mr. Levesque. And I was astonished. I hung up the first time because I didn't know who it was. And, once we had the conversation, I was extremely appreciative and honored that he would think of me. And, it was an interview that I did that he said that he saw that I thought I was owed a retirement match and if I would still be up for that. And, maybe let's talk. And again, it's a testament to, I guess, something that I did in the past, because I deserved that kind of respect. We all know it's a business decision at the end of the day. To what degree, nobody really knows. But I do believe that he was speaking from the heart, and he thought that, if that's something that I really wanted, then I deserved it. And so, like I said, it took him that long to call me. I wasn't going to pick up the phone, man. I wasn't going to do it. I don't work like that. If I had to go down like I went down in Saudi, then so be it. Because people's perception of me doesn't define who I am, and my perception of myself, sometimes though extremely critical, I gotta step back, and I gotta applaud some of the things that I did, because some of them were kind of cool, and I'm still doing cool stuff. I'm extremely lucky. I got a show coming out on Paramount Plus called Carlectables, and it's again about my passion. It's automotive. It's fun. It's friends of mine. I get to fly around in helicopters. I'm sitting in my garage right now. My neighbor landed right in my freaking driveway and picked me up. We went to Houston and drove the fastest car in the world. Wow. I mean, what kind of cool shit is that? I mean, it was unbelievable. So I'm living the dream, man. It's tough. Like I tell my son every day, to get up and to have the energy to try to make yourself better than you were the day before. And that's all my intent is now, whether I'm a better father, whether I'm a better husband, or I'm a better fisherman, or I'm a better hunter, or I'm a better car guy, whatever it is, man. I mean, life's spinning your wheels and being like a hamster ain't for me. I mean, I ain't a Tesla guy. You know what that means. Sorry if you drive a Tesla.
No, I do not. I've heard you talk about your relationship with Hunter like way back in the day when you first came. Would that conversation suggest that you guys are on good terms?
Yeah, man. You know, we were different people back then, I believe. Number one. Number two, uh, yeah, we all grow up, and he's a consummate businessman now. He's segued into the role, you know, with a tremendous amount of success. And I like to think, as I said, I now have an 18-year-old son, coming up on my 20th year anniversary with my beautiful wife. And man, I've grown up a little bit. And my dad always taught me that, one of the best things in life to live by is the path of least resistance.
Mm.
Right. So take that and define that however you may. But, it's a simple yes or no question. And for me, it's always based on my ability to replicate something that I did to make people excited about what I did in the past. Right. And physically, at 58 years old, that's a high mountain to climb, number one. And number two, it's not like I haven't had injuries that have been debilitating over the years. But since my son has left, I keep referring to Gage, but I just love him to death.
Yeah.
Since he left, I lived in the place that I live right now for 6 years. Okay. They know me as Goldberg, but they also know me as Gage's dad and Wanda's husband. But they haven't really seen Goldberg. They really haven't. And I'd say the last, I don't know, couple days, couple weeks, couple months that I know that I have to get myself in that mindset and bring that Godzilla dude back. These people are around here are learning who I am, especially the guy that was parked on my grass in front of our high fence yesterday in his Tesla, by the way, feeding our animals, and thought that, number one, it was respectable to park on someone's grass, and number two, to feed their animals. I mean, I got to be me again. And these people are kind of finding out who me used to be. And I'm kind of liking it. I enjoy it. It's a high test lifestyle. It's a high test life. I'm on the edge all the time, but man, I got it. Your producer called me a minute ago. I was working out and I've eaten since also. Right. So I'm on a regimen again. I'm turning into Godzilla. And as I said, it's kind of fun.
Did you ever think that we would live in a time where Vince McMahon was alive but not running WWE?
No, not at all. Never. I never would have imagined that. It must have been something pretty gnarly to get him out of that role.
Yes.
I'm not going to get into it by any stretch. It's all an opinion, and I don't give opinions. You base everything on fact, and then people are judged by facts, and you go on. But all I can say is Vince was always wonderful to me, other than not giving me my retirement match, but he couldn't because he wasn't part of the organization anymore. So up until then, I mean, you got your guys, you got your Vince guys, and you got your guys who weren't Vince guys. And I like to think that I was a Vince guy. And you treat people how you want to be treated. And, he always treated me with respect, I believe. And so I tried to show him the same. And so if you're ever going to try to get some kind of bad news for me about Vince and that situation, I can't give it, man. But no, I never thought there would be a day that I'd be alive or he'd be alive, and he wasn't leading the charge.
Hey there, sorry to interrupt. Just want to remind you, if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate it very much. And while you're at it, give us a thumbs up too. We've got live shows, interviews, clips, and a whole lot more going on this here channel. All right, now back to the show. That wasn't what I was getting at. I really do think I agree with you that Paul has done a tremendous job as the chief content officer, whatever you want to call him. And his latest masterpiece, I think, is this John Cena heel turn. Dying to know your take on it. How we've only just begun. There was the turn, and then there was the thing on Monday. I'm not sure how much of it you pay attention to, but your thoughts on John Cena turning heel finally.
Last time I watched it was when I was on.
Okay.
Right.
Not even a clip. Not even something being sent to you.
I'll see if it pops up on social media. And you hear stuff. And the fact is that I think Cena's turn is most comparable to Hogan turning.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I could have done the same thing, but I refused to. Now, that was when I didn't know the business, but to me, it meant more for the Make-A-Wish kid that's in my dressing room the night that I'm wrestling Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and he's coming back from, some kind of surgery, and I would turn heel that night, and they wanted me to do the thing. And, for the business, it would have been freaking unparalleled, right? It would have been like what these guys are doing with Cena, I believe, because I was the Make-A-Wish dude. Before Cena was doing his thing at WWE, that was kind of me at WCW. And I was the antithesis of what people thought out of the ring, or I could be at least. I'll rip your face off, but then when I get out of the ring, you give me your baby, and I'll hold up and smile and give them a moment of their lifetime if that's what they like. So I think Cena's turn is freaking fabulous, no question about it. I don't know how it's all transpired week after week, but I know how it happened. And bravo to all of them, and bravo to John's smart enough to understand how monumental it would be. At the time when they wanted me to do it, I wasn't smart enough. But as I said, it meant more to me for one little girl to have a smile on her face than for me to come back and she's freaking in tears, which is what happened. So I don't know. Call me I'm a mush for kids, man.
There was that, I think, like a 2-month period in 2000 where I think it was Bischoff and Russo that got you to turn with. They were desperate at that point for something, and then they quickly pulled the plug. Do you regret not ever? Because really, other than that, you were never a heel, nothing close to a heel. Do you regret never having that run where you were a total bad guy?
Well, being a heel gives you the ability to get your ass kicked and not be that superhuman guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there were a number of negatives to my character, and that was one of them. Is that in that respect, it was one dimensional, and so you can only be that good guy for so long. That's my opinion on it.
Okay. Did you ever pitch it later on?
No. I had such a bad experience with it when it happened. I didn't want to go back to it, and I didn't understand the business enough, and honestly care about the business enough at that time in retrospect and nobody really asked me to do it either. Again, it was never really an option. I think I would have said yes wholeheartedly, but I don't think it ever really came up again.
Do you have any regrets when you think about that period? Not the heel period, but just like the totality of your career as you're rounding third here.
Oh yeah, I wish I would have picked up the sledgehammer walking out the door at WCW to smash the limousine instead of using my hand. Yeah. I wish I would have let Jericho have a program with me before I did. I wish I would have done a lot of things differently. But again, nobody's perfect, and you live your life and live with the trials and tribulations and try to be a better person and learn from them all. And yeah, man, I would have changed a lot. There's no question about it. But we did a benefit the other night on Buff Bagwell's YouTube channel, and at the end of it, Dallas Page and Sting and I were on, and it was funny because Dallas was talking about a match, or the match that he and I had at Halloween Havoc, and it went over, and famously it went over the television time, and so. Or the pay-per-view time. I don't know which. Yeah, the pay-per-view time. And so people had to see it on Monday Nitro or something. I can't remember exactly what the stuff was, but and I made the joke that Dallas came to me with 14 pages of a match, and I think he wanted me to spear him 7 times. And prior to that, I'd only speared anybody one time. And Sting, being Sting, said, "You know what, Bill? I think that was one of the best matches and best decisions of your life." And you can look at it myopically, or you can look at it in its totality, right? Business-wise, I should have made more of those decisions, and I shouldn't have been so protective of my character. A lot of people say you're a mark for yourself, right? Well, I was a mark for myself. You know why? Because nobody else had my back.
Hmm.
like nobody. I came as a professional football player, and I tried to take dudes' jobs that had been in this sport and in this business since childhood mentally, because that's the only thing they ever wanted to do, and it meant so much to them. And I took that for granted, a little bit. And um, so I always came in it with a different mentality. But at the end of the day, if I didn't have that different mentality, I wouldn't have been, what I was. And what I was something different. And I think I was fairly successful at it.
I
And I
totally.
still haven't seen people do some of the stuff that I was able to do.
There wasn't a vet in the early days who took you under his wing that,
Oh, there were a number of vets that did that, but not, to a degree,
hmm.
right? Dallas Page, man, instrumental. Kevin Nash, instrumental. Sting, I bow to him because he taught me so much in the business. The Steiner brothers, Kurt Hennig. I mean, I had the opportunity to be with so many unbelievably unique characters that knew so much about the business. But again, there's so much of the, I got to take care of myself kind of thing because nobody else is going to do it, right? And nobody else has your best interest like you do. So you have to be protective to a certain degree. I don't think you do anymore, maybe, but if a veteran comes to me and wants to put a match together, and I'm on a winning streak, and he wants me to punch him 50 times and he doesn't hit the canvas, well, it's not really going to make sense. Barbarian did a belly to belly suplex to me from the top turnbuckle in the corner, and I'll never forget it. I came in the back and Bischoff yelled at me and he said, "Don't you ever do that again." And I'm like, "Why?" I look up to Barb and I look up to guys like that and Haku. They were staples in the business.
Mm-hmm.
They were men. I mean, this was not playing with boys with those guys, and they demanded and deserved so much respect that I didn't question anything. Who the hell am I to question anything? I'd only been in the business 6 months, or I think when that happened, 6 weeks. But yeah, man, there were people that looked out for you, but truthfully, in the end, everyone's got their own best interest at heart, and sometimes it's not what you say, it's what you don't say. I mean, and I'm not saying anything negative about any of the guys that brought me up by any means. I'm just saying that no, I think people were too involved with what they were trying to do, and rightfully so, in being successful, as opposed to trying to teach me the ropes.
You mentioned the Steiners. Bron Breakker, incredible, and he reminds me a lot of you. Do you see any of yourself in him?
Bron, we've got a relationship that goes back 20 years, man. Almost. Riding with his dad and his uncle, I learned a lot in the business. And that kid was growing up just like Gage did when I retired, a couple times ago at WWE, and he was around, and we knew he was always going to be a dude just like us, following our footsteps in a certain way, whether it's in the business or another endeavor. I mean, he and I spoke a lot when he was in college playing football. We spoke in high school when he was playing football. We spoke when he was attempting to play in the NFL. And we've spoken a number of times since he's, turned into who he has at WWE. Yeah, I'd say we're really close, man. We don't wear it on our sleeves, but people don't ask, and you asked. And so, yeah, we're extremely close. And I see a lot of myself in him. And, if it wasn't for his respect for me and my respect for him, along the way, people have tried to get him to do more things that I kind of did, right? And whether it's a phone call to me or just a no, man, he's a great kid. He's a wonderful kid, and he's got his only limitation is his height. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
There ain't nothing in the world that can stop him. He can't, unless he can grow like 8 inches taller. That's the only thing in the world that can stop that kid. And that's a formidable resume right there. I mean, that kid deserves everything, and the sky's the limit for him. And to be compared to his 4-3 in the 40-yard dash, delivering that spear, man, I'll take that.
Considering that, also Scott's son, I believe Brock, seems to be on route to a wrestling career as well. Is it inevitable that young Gage will at some point at least attempt to follow in your footsteps in the wrestling world?
There's nothing inevitable, Ariel. You know that. What the fact is that it's hopefully always going to be an option if he chooses to go in that direction.
Would you want him to?
If I was his freaking manager, yeah, because nobody could do anything to him.
If you were his dad, as you are, like,
yeah,
if he said to you, "Pops, should I do this?"
You know what? Yes, I'd let him do it if he looked me in the eye and had the conviction in his soul that that's what he was going to put 120% of his attitude and his life towards to be the best. I knew he could freaking do it because he can do anything he wants. Most people can do anything they want. They just have to put their mind to it and be willing to put the work in. And that's the problem with a lot of people now is they want shit for free and they want it to be given to them and they want respect given to them and they want, this and that. And you got to work for it, man. And the people that I see walking this earth that have learned that that's the way you should live your life, they're always going to succeed no matter what they get into. So in another long answer, I support him in anything he does, short of being like a crack dealer or something,
right.
But if the kid loves it, then he can do it, man. And I'm completely behind him.
I love it.
And I read this right there. Thank you very much for putting this stuff up. It really means a lot to me. This kid just did 24 reps with 225, right, on the bench. And that's like combine numbers for linebackers, not 18-year-old, redshirt freshman numbers. So he has the potential to play football if that's what he wants to do. He's playing for, an ex-teammate of mine. And, Gage, I only let him play in the 9th grade. That was the first year I let him play football.
Oh, wow.
I got him into Muay Thai when he was 5, to be able to protect himself because having the name like Goldberg on the back of your anything jersey is a target. And so I wanted him to be prepared physically, mentally, and emotionally for what he was about to embark upon. And I think he's performed admirably, and he's got a hell of a long way to go. But, he's 18 years old, man. I mean, give this kid time. In the day and age of portals, when you got 20, 22-year-old or 25-year-old kids that are like on their 8th year of eligibility, it's tough for a kid to come out of high school and make a difference on a football team, especially Division I team. So it's a tough hill to climb. But again, like I said, if he wanted to do the wrestling thing, whatever, it wouldn't be my first choice by any stretch. But I want him to be himself. He's a very independent kid. He's not following in my footsteps by any means. He wants to be Gage. He doesn't want to be me.
I always appreciated that you had a great affinity for the martial arts, your style, the gloves. Talking about MMA, talking about UFC. Remember seeing you at the fights when Brock was fighting, and obviously you're involved.
I went to the first 4 UFCs, I think. Right when I was playing when I was cut from the Carolina Panthers, I was the first guy cut from the Carolina Panthers, right? And I remember during practice, we were in Charlotte. We drove to Charlotte to go to one of the fights, right? And it was right in the embryonic time of it, and I've been around that for so long, man. People just don't know what a fan I am of it. When I was able to commentate, when what was it, Hustle One, who I wrestled for, they owned Pride, right? And so they would cross promote. And when I got to commentate with Morrow and Boss, Fry's fight, and I was there at Sapp's fight, and man, I know Barnett when he was the babyface assassin. Krokop asked me to go to Croatia and train with him. I told him he was freaking crazy. I'm so lucky to be alive and be able to appreciate the things that I have learned to appreciate in the martial arts world. And I mean, I was at the Tokyo Dome in front of 100,000 people in the ring, standing across from Ogawa, right, who was fighting at Pride at the time, and he also wrestled. Kind of like Sakuraba.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm thinking Sahaki Bara, who was,
Yes.
Sakuraba. But man, the first time I wrestled in Japan was at the Budokan. I am so honored. I've been such a fan of martial arts for my entire life. I think it comes second to playing football, because I took martial arts for the first time at University of Georgia to help with being a better football player, and it just stuck. And I co-owned a Muay Thai gym in Oceanside, California, and then I got to hang out. I got to be a part of Glory, and then I got to go to Amsterdam and train with Rico. And man, Simon Marcus was a huge fan of mine growing up, and then it was in San Diego, and I did part of the event there. And now I just did a promo for one, championship with the big fight coming up this weekend.
I saw you walk out with Liam Harrison.
Dude, freaking Liam, he hung him up and then picked him up again. But I'm going to see Liam. Yeah, I'm going to see him soon. He's doing a tour in the States right now, a training seminar tour, and I may see him at one in Denver, in the upcoming months. And it'll be a year. And I'm just, again, so honored. Hell, I was. I can't even remember shark fights.
Oh yeah.
Me and Eric Apple.
Yeah.
I mean, I am so honored to know all of these people, to train with Sam Greco, to train at Core Hemmer's freaking gym, in Amsterdam, to train with those guys. Boss and those guys are going to be up in Austin in a couple of months, and I'm going to go up and say hello and get my new gear from them, because I'm going to freaking need it here soon. But again, you brought it up, and I can talk for days about it. But the luck that I have had to be around so many badass martial artists and know them as friends. I pulled Fry and Coleman out of one of those bars, I guess at 2:00 in the morning, the night before Randleman's fight, where he knocked Krokop out.
What? What do you mean?
Yeah, no, nothing. You heard me.
Okay, all right. That's
someone else heard me too, probably. But yeah, I'm just so lucky to know these dudes as friends of mine. They're idols of other people, and they're idols of mine too. Dan Severn, I'll never forget. Severn comes to see me in San Diego when we lived out there, and Gage was like 5 years old. And Gage, we're having breakfast, and the Beast, I don't know if you know it, but where I got this at the end of my when I'd spear a dude and jackhammer him and I stand up and do that, I got that from Dan, right? But I didn't want to steal characters. I want to steal parts of people to make a character. But Dan is sitting next to Gage, and Dan and I are engaged in this conversation, and freaking Gage is eating off of Dan's plate, and Dan doesn't see it. And I'm like, oh my God, Gage has no idea who this guy is. He's an idol of mine. He's one of the gnarliest dudes on the planet. I wonder what's going to happen if he catches Gage eating off of his plate. And man, he was as jovial, he was as interactive and as much fun with Gage as I had ever could have asked, or ever could have wished. And again, having those relationships with the baddest dudes on the planet. Boss Rutan was the first guy to ever show me Muay Thai, right? And I took it, and I wanted him. I remember we're upstairs in the pre-production room, I guess, for that fight. I think it was when LeBanner and Fry fought, and there's a whole nother story there. I got to be on your show again. You got to be on my new show.
I would love to. Can I just add? I love everything, and by the way, I don't want to keep you much longer because you've given us way more time than we could have asked. So we'll let you go in a couple of minutes, I promise. But could I just ask? Did Pride at any point, post WCW, before you went to WWE, or post WWE, that first run, the 1 year run? I feel like you would have been perfect for Pride because they love the pro wrestlers over there, right? Was there ever any talk of you fighting in Pride?
I've always kind of dabbled in the thought that I could have crossed over. Glory and I actually were closer than any promotion of me doing something like an exhibition. But I'll be honest with you, man. My abilities fall so short in what my expectation for myself would be as an outcome in a sport like that, my injuries prevent me. It's hard for me to throw a right hand without breaking my hand or blowing my shoulder out. I'm not worried about getting hurt by other people. I'm worried about what's going to happen to my body once I connect with somebody. And I never was a wrestler, a true wrestler. And so I don't have that ground game, even though I was the co-owner of the largest MMA gym in the freaking country back in the early 90s, right? Obaki Fight School, look it up. To do a crossover like that, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't around when the Mike Tyson money was around to make him lower to the point of getting in the ring with Jake Paul. For the amount of money he did, I don't blame him, right? I don't think that type of money was around, or I might have really considered it. But I always have such a high expectation of myself. If I don't feel as though I'm prepared, I'm not gonna take that chance in front of national television, just for the sake of money and doing it.
Okay. Last thing, you mentioned one more match. You put it at 99%. I guess in the world of pro wrestling, you can never say 100%, but it seems like you want that one match. If for whatever reason it doesn't seem like it is materializing with WWE, are you willing to do it elsewhere? Obviously, there's the AEWs, and I've heard you talk about talking to them and it just not being a fit. But there's doing your own thing. Ric Flair did that. There's promotions all over the place. Does it have
I wanted
to be?
to do my own thing in Israel, but I don't over the last number of years. But COVID hit and then the war hit.
Right.
And so it's the timing, obviously someone's telling me that's not the place to do it. Right. So, or maybe it is, maybe, who knows? Again, you can never say never. You can never close the door on anything. And I can't foresee the future or forecast the future. So I don't know, man. I really don't. I can't honestly give you an answer.
But you want one more.
100%, because there's a lot of people walking the planet that have no idea who I am, right?
And that bothers you.
They need, well, yeah, a little bit, because they seem to forget who I was, right? They only base it on what they read on the internet or the choice clips that they are given. And, the fact is, if you look at my social media as of late, I did some pretty amazing things, and it's extremely rare for me to give myself any kudos, but I don't see anybody else walking around with the Big Show for, 30 seconds around the ring when he's upside down weighing 525. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. And by the way, that team, because I have seen your stuff and I've seen what they've done over the last 10 days or so, the social media team, they're doing a great job. I enjoy what they're putting out, and it's great reliving that because as you know, I was a huge fan, and I haven't told you this, but there was a period in the pandemic where not much was going on. And I have two boys, like I said, and this is, several years ago, and I started to show them pro wrestling because, we had a lot of time at home, and I didn't push them in this direction, but for some reason or another, just like many other kids, they were drawn to you, and they don't ask me about anyone, or they don't pop when I tell them about anyone being on the show, but I told them last night, who's going to be on? Bill Goldberg. And they were like, holy crap, Bill Goldberg, that's amazing. Tell him we say hi. 12 and 11, Oliver and Walter. So you mean a lot to a lot of people. You are a legend, and I'm glad you're getting at least one more. And I'm so glad and honored that you gave us all this time here today. Really, really a pleasure, and I appreciated every second of it.
Ariel, I've always been a fan of yours. You knew that the first time we met. And I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate the way you do it. You do it with respect for the business and yourself. And you tell your kids and you give your kids a big hug for me and tell them that they're the reason why I kept my name Goldberg and did what I did. Because I wanted to give kids like me growing up somebody to look up to, man. And that warms my heart that they would think that of me. And I'm greatly appreciative because, maybe through osmosis, they got it from you.
Love it. Thank you, Bill. All the best to you and the family. Good luck. Hope to do it again soon.
Saudi Cup.
There he is, the great Bill Goldberg. What a freaking legend. What a pleasure that was. Oh, my gosh. I loved everything about that. And shout out to Mr. Burks, who I believe is tuning in. Big Goldberg guy.
Shout out.
I mean, who isn't? Who isn't?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's because of Georgia. That's why
Yeah.
I was into him. Thought it was so cool that he became a professional wrestling after his football career.
a freaking legend, a Georgia legend. Had that stint in the NFL, and then in anticipation of this interview, I was rewatching and reliving some of his old stuff, and there was nothing like it. There was nothing like it, and he came at a time where WCW really needed a really strong baby face to combat the NWO as they were, battling WWF Attitude Era. Here he is coming in, freak athlete, going 100 miles an hour. And yes, elephant in the room, I adore Bret Hart, and you know that there has been a back and forth, and there's been a lot of things said, but I can separate the two and have a lot of respect for Bill, and have the love and admiration and respect that I have for Bret as well. And I love those old chats, and love the fact that he's getting one more. Everyone deserves the opportunity to go out on their own terms if they can. He is very clearly in the physical shape to be able to do so. So we wish him well. And I think a match against a Bron Breakker would be awesome, a passing of the torch, or a Gunther. They had that schmoz, if you will. They had that at Bad Blood in Atlanta back in October. So let's see how it all pans out. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.